Hi, I'm Alan Mullane, Glenigan's Economics Director, and welcome to our latest weekly update on how COVID-19 has been impacting UK construction. Over the last week, the number of suspended sites has continued to decline, with work restarting on a further 91 sites. 45% of initially suspended sites have now restarted. While this isn't as steep a rise in restarted projects as we saw last week, the bank holiday weekend will have been a factor, and it's still a real positive shift. Larger sites in particular have been reactivated. As a result, 57% of the value construction work that was initially suspended is now underway again. Site reactivation has been most widespread across the office, health and education sectors. However, at 47%, an above average share of private housing projects have also now restarted. The private housing sector was especially hard hit by the initial suspension of work, and developers have been implementing a phased programme of site reopenings. Despite the above average proportion of restarted sites, however, at just over a third, a greater proportion of private housing sites remain closed than any other sector. Overall, work is suspended on 24% of construction sites, accounting for 22% of work by value. Public non-residential areas such as health, education and community and amenities and civil engineering all have a smaller than average proportion of suspended sites. Over the last week, the number of suspended sites has continued to decline in England and Wales, with just 16% still closed in England and 17% in Wales, down for around a fifth of sites a week ago. Northern Ireland, however, has seen the greatest improvement, with the proportion of suspended sites dropping to 63%, down from 3/4 of sites a week ago. There's been little change in Scotland, with 78% of sites still suspended. That said, the Scottish Government has asked firms to gear up for a planned easing of the lockdown from the 15th of June, so we anticipate that there will be a sharp drop in suspended Scottish sites during the final 2 weeks of the month. The number and value of project starts have also fallen sharply since the lockdown came into force during the second half of March. The Glenigan Construction Index tracks new construction activity by looking at the value of project starts, excluding the high value of projects of 100 million or more, to really give a view of what's happening in the underlying market. The latest Glenigan Index has recorded a 61% fall in the value of project starts during the 3 months to the end of May, against the same period a year ago. The value of starts in May alone was 68% down on the level of a year ago. Within this total, civil engineering projects have fared better than the residential and non-residential works, with the value of projects, civil engineering projects during the 3 months to May, 42% lower than a year ago. Looking ahead, we anticipate that May should mark the low point, with the number and the value of projects starting on site progressively recovering from June as the lockdown is eased. Moving on to look at the development pipeline, this remains steady but with some bright spots, which my colleague Rhys will give us a bit more detail on.
Hi, I'm Rhys, Economic Analyst here at Glenigan. The number of planning applications being published by planning authorities has averaged 1,478 a day over the last week. This is little change on the previous week and just 6% lower than the daily average seen prior to the lockdown. At 1,455, the daily average number of published planning decisions was 11% up on the previous week, although it still remains 7% lower than the average seen prior to the lockdown. The last week has seen an improvement in applications and decisions for non-householder projects, and there has been a strengthening in decisions for larger construction projects of £250,000 or more. Applications for such larger projects rose by 8% on the previous week and was slightly ahead of average pre-lockdown levels. This week we finally saw the application being submitted for the £14 billion Sizewell C nuclear power station, a project which will provide 25,000 jobs for the construction industry. This is a project which was initially delayed by 2 months due to the lockdown, so it's great to see that it's now being submitted. decisions were 54% up on pre-lockdown levels. Larger projects had to date seen the sharpest declines in applications and decisions during the lockdown. And this is something that we in part have attributed to delays in compiling and submitting supporting documentation for these larger projects. This week's data provides a tentative sign that easing in the lockdown may be lifting this logjam and offers prospects an upturn in applications over the next few weeks. All of which suggests that the industry has a potentially growing pipeline of planned projects as the lockdown is eased further over the coming weeks. Now is the time for firms to be proactive in planning their future workloads as the recovery gets underway. Whilst improving, market conditions will remain extremely challenging and volatile. This week, press reports include that some developers are looking to subcontractors to cut their rates. And because of this, businesses will need to be especially vigilant to build a diverse portfolio of work that minimises their exposure to individual firms and sectors. So if you'd like to discuss how we can help you do exactly that and to explore other ways to safeguard your sales pipeline going forward, please do get in touch. We're still here to help. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.